Werner is big on walking. If you ever read of Walking in Ice, he says like the world reveals itself to those who travel by foot. He's like
Hmm.
walked to his mentor
He's a
before. He
big
thinks,
walker, big walker.
yeah, he says that, a man on any important mission should walk to it. He should not drive. He should walk to it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow his advice.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Kinolime Podcast. Danny, this is all you're doing today. Why don't maybe you set us up on who we're interviewing? Because we got I'm like so pumped.
Yeah, man. Well, we're interviewing right here Austin Kolodney, screenwriter for Dead Man's Wire.
Whoa,
an
let's give him a
amazing
round of
film.
applause. Dead Man's Wire here.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible story of how you got this movie made. The production's incredible, and your entire journey as a filmmaker and screenwriter is really captivating. We're going to go over all of it. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing well. It's a nice rainy day in LA. I've got some very basic errands to get through today, but yeah, always excited to chat with fellow film lovers. So yeah, I'm honored to be on the platform. Thanks for having me.
Austin, dude, by the way, congratulations on your first movie getting produced with Gus Van Sant. Like, you cracked the code. Share your secrets. Like, what did you do? Did you sacrifice some sort of goat in
My
the
cr-
field?
my
Like,
credit score, my credit score was definitely sacrificed in the
right?
process. Yeah, that was one thing. Yeah, I've worked in film for over a decade now, in varying capacities. Any kind of director's assistant work, PA work, art department work. I held some boom mics and second AC'd here and there on like indie features, and just like being around creative people and like being on a set and learning. I've never stepped on foot on a set and not learned something in any capacity. But always was like writing and directing my own stuff when I could, on the side, largely like in the sketch comedy space. I came up putting a lot of stuff on Funny or Die. Had like 40 sketches on there on the homepage, and signed with a manager who got me like a Comedy Central digital series. So did a couple things with them, and I've directed with Almost Friday TV and some music videos, and always in the short form digital space while trying to like get my indie features made. I wrote a couple other like indie features. Yeah.
So let's take it from the beginning. So grew up in Santa Clarita. Like, did you always love film? Like, was there a moment? Was there a movie, a scene that was like, this is what I gotta do? Like, tell us like how young Austin was.
I think the one that made me learn what a director does, or like that I was like that I remember saying like, whoa, like we're in the hands of someone's like vision here. This is crazy. Was Magnolia. It was PTA's
Oh,
Magnolia.
yes.
That really,
Love that.
I even have one of the mugs right now, little frog.
Oh, there you
Magnolia.
go. Okay.
From the moment that prologue plays, like an 8 minute kind of like about, happenstance and like, chance, like the moment that even the title card hits and before you even meet the main ensemble, you're like eating out of his hand. I love that movie. It's not for everyone, but it's for me, baby. And that definitely kicked off me looking into more of his body of work and just what influenced him and going down the Altman, rabbit hole and stuff. And
What age were you when you went to see Magnolia?
oh, I was really young. I was like 10 years old
Love
or
that your
11.
mom took you to see Magnolia.
Well, no, it wasn't even in theaters. It must have been 2001 or something like that, where she had what I was drawn to was she had it on VHS, and as you know, Magnolia is like 3 hours and change.
Sure.
So you had to switch the VHS. It was a two VHS stack, and yeah, it really, I think, left a mark on me, and just how he like moves the camera and just what he does with the camera. I mean, Tom Cruise's character. This is the best Tom Cruise performance in my opinion. I love the Frank T.J. Mackey arc in that character, and
The scene when he's next to his dad dying is like that.
yeah, and I mean,
always
if you want to
stays with
get
me.
and if you want to get into it a little bit, I mean, like I also was raised by a single mom. Like I've not met my biological father, so that storyline definitely cut pretty deep. And yeah, I think that was the movie that was really impactful. There was a couple others, like seeing Little Miss Sunshine and Children of Men. My grandpa was a big Kubrick fan, and like watching like Doctor Strangelove, and those were kind of the things that shaped me My mom showed me Dog Day Afternoon when I was pretty young. Like these kinds of movies, I think, were the ones that like sparked my interest in film.
Walk us through what that was like when you decided to say, this is the path.
Yeah, I mean, senior year of high school, I knew I was going to go to community college at community college at College of the Canyons. Shout out Mike Leach, and that was largely where I learned how to essentially write and direct. Like you are adapting material for these like little 10-minute speeches and then also watching your teammates and giving notes on performance, which is that's what direct like how do you like achieve a more authentic, engaging performance? You give some notes, you watch it, you study it, you practice it, you rehearse it. And that definitely gave me the bug for writing and directing, and then also I had some really impactful community college cinema professors, Max Keller and Gary Peterson. He wrote my letter of rec to USC. Like he let me start a film club, and I owe a lot to that school and those professors.
So you're at community college, you're doing the film thing, you 2 years in, did you decide then, I'm going to film school?
I applied to UCLA and USC. I heard from UCLA first. Like I got into UCLA and I was about to, I had like a dorm and a potential roommate, and I had signed my letter of intent and stuff. Once I heard I got into USC and their financial aid division, like brought me in and quartered me and kind of said like, well, how much are you going to be paying at UCLA? We can match it here with financial aid and stuff. And they give you the razzle dazzle tour of their facilities. And yeah, it just made sense to sign up there.
How many years were you at USC?
I transferred in 2012. It was on my dime, so I was like, "Well, if I'm paying for this school, I want to get as much. I want to like
Sure.
wring the towel of as much film juice as possible." And I would PA on as many student thesis films, and then try and write and direct as many of my own thesis films that I could do. And then 2015 is when I was like finishing up my general ed classes that didn't transfer over, and was interning at Annapurna Pictures for a second semester. So Megan Ellison,
Sure.
Who's David Ellison's sister, and ran Annapurna Pictures. And this was an era. It was a very cool time to be at Annapurna because they were
Sorry to
starting
bother you, and
Yeah, that was the the height.
This is even before that. I mean, they're coming off a run of like Zero Dark 30 and American Hustle.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
there's Her, and just
Her,
really
yeah,
cool auteur-driven cinema. And so I was learning a lot there, and it was a very intimate, small place. So I was like getting to see these execs work with these directors, like up close and personal, and I was learning a lot. And then through that, I got a chance to interview to be David O. Russell's assistant while I was in my last semester of SC that spring of 2015, and was going through like rounds of interviews to work for him on the movie that ended up being Joy. They were so secretive, you didn't even know what the movie was at the time.
Sure. So you're doing these jobs to pay the bills, get the experience. You had the vision that you wanted to direct and write at this point. Were you writing on the side? Like did you have your eye on the prize of something longer term, or were you just like, in the moment, I'm just going to learn and then I'll figure it out as I go?
I mean, in the moment while in production on Joy, there was no time. I mean, I was working like 7 days a week.
Okay.
Some of these days I was doing like 16, 17-hour days.
Sure.
So there was no real writing on the side while we were in production. But my friend Sam Sandweiss, he's a producer who produced Takanakwi, was working at Breakwater and said like, hey, we have these sci-fi web series, like narrative sci-fi web series things called Haven Origins coming up. You should hire this guy Austin to direct one. He's working for David O right now, and but he'll be back in the fall, and you guys should work together. And at that point, I like hadn't finished at SC. I was like kind of debating actually going to SC in the fall, but then this sci-fi web series job was just enough like to pay rent for a month or so, and get paid. It was my first paid directing job, like the first time getting paid
that's
to
a big
direct
deal,
something.
man.
Yeah.
So then what got you going on, because I want to get to the Dead Man's Wire, right? So give us a little fast forward. So you're writing, you're making it work.
I could summate basically from the 2015 to 2020 is just like directing sketches, like working as an assistant, squirreling away money, and then producing, like I produced some low budget features, and then reinvesting that money into my own directing work.
Love that.
So
I
like
love
having
that,
like,
by the way, that's fantastic.
yeah, it's my advice to people. It's like, hey, go work go. And I'd done some Lyft driving too when I was at Annapurna. Like, do whatever job you got to do, but then try and reinvest a little bit into your own directing or writing. Tarantino wrote Natural Born Killers and True Romance and stuff before making Reservoir Dogs. So it's like maybe I could write something that will sell to a studio, to a bigger director, that I could be on set and do the production revisions. I saw footage of Tony Kuritzis and Richard Hall on YouTube, said out loud, how has this not been made into a movie yet? Like the way this guy Tony is operating and talking, and the look on Richard's face, and just, I mean, them slipping on the ice and stealing a cop car and this press conference, and the emotion and the tension, but also the kind of like the awkward shuffling and the very human interactions between him and the cops who know each other. I was floored by it, and just knew it had to be a movie. So started developing it as a film, and got in contact with Alan Berry and Mark Enochs, who are kind of the foremost historians on the subject matter. And they opened their books to me about this case because they're from Indianapolis and had interviewed a lot of people involved. And it just to me felt like the kind of movie I wanted to go see, something that's it's tense, it's dramatic, but it's also darkly comedic, and is saying something about America, the American dream, and class. And it just, again, going way back to high school, it's like if I hadn't done film, I think I would have done history. I like history. Sure. I like the storytelling of it.
I want to stop you there because that's a really important tip, is that you wrote something that you wanted to see. And I say this all the time to writers, and it's something that I live by too. Like, write, like Tarantino said, like, write what you want to see.
100%. Yeah, I think that is the most important audience member to be thinking about is yourself. To get a movie like onto the big screen, and made, it's a hell of a journey. Like David O would always say, like, Austin, you're gonna die like 9 times over and be reborn. Like any worthy endeavor in life, like you like basically. And I've had that like throughout the journey of Dead Man's Wire, where like things would happen where it's like, oh shit, it's completely dead. It's never gonna be made. Oh no, it's coming together. Oh no, it's falling apart again. Like I think any journey has that. So it's like if you're doing it without any heart or passion in what you want the final thing to be, just as like I think this will maybe sell, or some people like this, like I don't know if it's worth it. You kind of have to be all in on it. So
take us right before the great news comes in that changes every screenwriter's life, right? So you're you're struggling, are you struggling, you're writing, you're doing this, and like you wrote the spec, you're getting people maybe attached, like walk us up to like that moment before you get the call that like, hey, this is all coming together, and like it is a life-changing moment.
To be candid, I tried to get the script to Gus. My manager shared this with a company that did his last movie, and I have like the email still. In like 2022, I tried to get this to Gus. Nice. I wanted Gus and Jack Black. That's what I kind of had in my head as like the Tony director pairing. And yeah, it didn't come to fruition then. And then I did end up signing an option with Cassian Elways and Tom Culliver, who, like, Tom really went to bat for this and saw the vision for it, and was one of the only places to put option paperwork. I don't know if you guys have talked about like the option paperwork cycle of screenwriting, but it's like, I think it's helpful because I didn't really know what it all entailed either. But like, a lot of times people will say like, oh, they sold their script or this and that, but it's like most times a first-time writer is not going to just outright sell a script for, a WGA, minimum or more. It's usually a spec script is written, and a indie producer company will, if they like it, option it, which is a lease essentially. They're putting a couple grand down, which is great in the moment because it covers your rent for that month or two, but then the option is usually 12 to 18 months is what I found is usually the case. And at that point, I very lucky had a manager and an entertainment lawyer that were looking over the paperwork too. I think that's also a piece of the advice I would say to any young writer, is that like if you're going to sign like a big scary contract, like try and get someone in your court who like has studied law and entertainment law to read that paperwork. So I have a great lawyer, Mark Simon, who kind of pre-negotiated the larger terms of what the deal would be if it went into production down the road.
Sure.
So a lot of that is negotiation for like what it will be down the road, and then if you sign the paperwork, then they're like leasing. They have the right to execute and purchase and produce your script for the next 18 months or so.
I'm super fascinated in like, what does that initial pass look like for you? Like, I guess from submission, to your reps, to like, what does like the Werner Herzog pass look like compared to the Gus Van Sant pass, and what did you learn from kind of going through the story with them, like two legendary auteurs?
Yes. I mean, so yeah, I'd done a lot of research and put together a draft, like the submission draft that went out that I had like hyperlinks to certain archival footage in it. I had like
super cool, by the way. Like when you sent me the
oh yeah, I shared that with you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I had like the blueprint of like Tony's apartment on like page 2 after the title card. So that was like the submission draft that was going out. It was like I think 115 pages or something like that. And the first time they say, "Oh, Warner wants to meet and talk about the script," I'll tell the story. It's like because it's pretty fun. I was so broke. I was so like I probably in a manic headspace. I had producers bait and switch things in the past where they say you're going to meet this big person, can you do X, Y, and Z, and then last minute it doesn't come to fruition or they cancel. And I was like, I'm not going to give you guys the opportunity to like cancel. Like, you can't get my hopes up that I'm going to meet with Werner Herzog about my script. Like, I'm not giving you the opportunity to cancel. So I know that you guys want me to meet him at 1 p.m. at his producing partner's mansion in Bel Air. And it's a nice day out. I'm going to leave my place. I've already memorized the path. Werner is big on walking. If you ever read of Walking in Ice, he says like the world reveals itself to those who travel by foot. He's like walked to his mentor before.
He's a big walker.
Yeah, he says that, a man on any important mission should walk to it. He should not drive. He should walk to it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow his advice. So I walked from Silver Lake to it's like a 10-mile
no,
walk.
You didn't. Did you?
10-mile walk back. Yeah.
What?
And I told my manager and producer were like, and I told them, I was like, I'm not bringing my phone. And they were like, you need to bring your phone in case he cancels. I was like, that's literally the whole point, is that I'm not giving you the opportunity to like cancel the hour before. And then when I got to his producing partner's house, they let me in. The producing partner was disturbed that I had done that. He was like, you walked here? Wait, what do you mean you walked here? And then Werner knew immediately.
Were you like sweaty? Like I mean, I'm not...
No, I had like kind of cooled off. I got there early.
Okay, so
it also was like it was LA. No, I was wearing like a tank top. It was like LA. It was like a 70.
Okay, so it wasn't like a summer, 90-degree LA day. Okay.
No, it was beautiful. It was honestly one of the best days of my life.
Great.
and then so I sit down and I have 2 copies of the script, one watermarked for him, one for me. A couple pens, and I think maybe he was expecting me to bring my laptop and hand him the file, but again, going back to my point, I was like, I don't want. And one, they didn't buy the script yet, so that my leverage is like,
that's
okay,
smart. That's very smart, made. By the way, love that.
Yeah, to be honest, this caused a lot of stress and tension. Like it wasn't necessarily common for this to happen, and I don't know if I advise that people do this, but it just made sense for me with this script and where I was at.
I want to pause for a second because I've heard horror stories of people getting their screenplays ripped off. Like I'm not going to name it, but there's a major franchise that was made, a major A-list star found the screenplay, just took the writer off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hear this all the time. So I love that for the writer, the little guy, like sticking up and like taking your agency and like some power, because like, not that Werner would have done that, but you took some control over a business that you feel powerless sometimes. So kudos to you on that. Like, I've never heard that, and I love that.
I mean, Werner understood it at a certain point. Look, he did try to get the file for me multiple times, but I made a point I was doing these rewrites and I wasn't getting paid yet doing these rewrites. Yeah. I thought in my mind, I was like, okay, cool. I'm starting on the rewrites with Werner. That means you guys have to pay me like WGA 50% up front to start the rewrite. And they weren't. They didn't. They didn't for 7 months. Like, I did like all these rewrites with Werner. And one of the things I want to give Danny the quote that Werner gave me, because I think it is important what I learned from that process. Even if that's not the movie that got made, I did learn a lot from it. And one of the first things Werner said to me was like, Austin, and Sam Pressman should do the impression.
Sam does the best Werner impression I've ever heard.
I'll do my TIFF panel
ever.
This, yeah.
Heard.
It's really good. I'm not as good as him, but I'll do my best. He looked to me, and because I'd done all this research, and he said, "Austin, I'm going to wean you off of the truth and bring you closer to the facts." and I was like, "Wean me off of the truth? Yeah, wean me, dude. Let's do it."
Prune me, bro. Let's go.
That was, I think, important to hear, because ultimately film is a director's medium, and Werner's vision for the movie was not like Werner did not aspire to do something that was as based in the historical research that I had done. Like I think he wanted to take like the essence of the crime.
Essence of it, yeah.
Yeah, and which is fair. And I honestly like I'd be excited to have seen his version of it. And I think Gus would be too. Gus is a big fan of Werner's. But yeah, so like the moment he said that, it was very clear to me that like there is going to be like a page one rewrite. We're going to change all the locations, all the character names, the kind of some of the core dynamics he wanted to change. Like there was a lot of changes that we did, and I'll cherish that time where like I was like broke and not complaining to Werner because he grew up like in true poverty in like the hills of Bavaria after World War II. So like he didn't need to know about like I had emptied my Roth IRA. I had maxed out like 6 credit cards. Like I wasn't complaining to him about it. I was complaining to my manager and the producers about it. But like I always kept my meetings with Werner strictly creative. I was a kid in a candy store. I was going to Werner's house and doing these rewrites and going through the script line by line. And he would be calling me on a weekend, like calling me for like 2-hour conversations about the script and stuff. And
but real quick, in his house, I just got to know, like, what was the coolest thing you've seen in his house? Like, what? Like, give me something.
I like his cat. He has a cat named Mutz. I like this cat a lot.
Like
Mutzadel?
M-U-T-Z.
Oh,
M-U-T-Z. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So he's got a cat named Mutz.
He also had a sauna, like a one of those like personal saunas. I'm like, that's cool. But also he did not have like a gaudy. He was very like it was like a library. Like he had all these books, and I'm not trying to dox him or anything, but like he had a really admirable home. It was very tasteful. It was great art and really beautiful art, great books. He was showing me like he was like, this is Poetics by Etta. You must read this. The Peregrine. I read the Peregrine and stuff. And no, he has a really beautiful home.
So you do all this work with Werner, but it doesn't happen. So what was the break with him as director?
To be honest, it's like he said, she said stuff where like I'm like the child of divorce a little bit, where like Werner and producers are mom and dad, and they, I had my own bone to pick with, aspects of like doing these rewrites and not getting paid yet. Like I was raging at Cassian during that time too. But like Werner went on a scout. It was coming along. It was going pretty far. At one point in time, Nick Cage was going to act in it.
Oh, I was about to ask, were there any actors attached? So Nick Cage, interesting.
Nick Cage was going to be in it, and then he wasn't. But then what was the shame was that when Werner, well, I guess I'll tell this part. So yeah, Werner was on a scout, and something happened on the scout. I don't know what happened. Like we were approaching a start date. Like it was like getting closer to shooting, and Werner sent me an email, a very cryptic email that just said like, hi Austin, I assume you've not been told I'm no longer a part of our project. I worked in good faith, and simply lost faith in the production. I know you've worked incredibly hard. Trust me, I know. I want to thank you for your loyalty, best word. And like,
wow,
that's okay. And I called it. I was like, I tried. I was harassing him. I was like, please come back. Like, what is happening? And he would say, he would speak in like little riddles. He'd be like, there's a difference between a castle in the sky and a truck that will not move.
Oh my God.
And he was like, it is as if the producers. He was like, I was like, does that mean Teamsters? Was that?
Yeah, like was the Teamsters like, oh, they're not. Yeah, what's going on here?
I mean, it might. Yeah, and he was like, it's as if the producers are at a Las Vegas casino and they're bluffing hand after hand. You must hold cards at some point. I was like, and yeah, so I was going crazy.
Oh, I can imagine. So he's off the pro.
Also at that time, okay, too. So like at January 2024, I was so broke, but I wanted to keep my schedule open to do these rewrites with Werner, that I went to a job fair in Northridge and got a job at a table that was for the LA Zoo, which is in Griffith Park right near Silver Lake.
Sure.
And they had a position that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday before the zoo opened, like really early in the morning. So I was like, great. So like I could still get some meetings done on Fridays and Mondays, and then just on weekends I'll just have to wake up really early, do some manual labor at the zoo. So I did that job. I got that job in January. So like I think Werner left in like March-ish or something like that, and then yeah, basically worked at the zoo the whole year, but then the option expires. So then you're hitting the tail end of this like 18-month option. And in May, basically, I was like ready to go scorched earth of like, well, like, fuck it, like I'm still owed for these rewrites and stuff. But then right as the option expired, they extended it and they paid what I was owed for the rewrites.
Oh, good,
and then,
good. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Quick
and
question:
then,
was the job at the zoo like? Was that advice from Werner? Because I've heard him talk. Like for writers or filmmakers in general, it's good to get jobs that like are not film related. Was that in any part advice imbued from him or?
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, he says like go be a bouncer at a Berlin nightclub, go be a janitor, go work as a cowhand on a ranch. Like I think yeah, I'd heard that quote from him and took it to heart. And also, I mean, it's a little mix of both where it's like I also just geographically was looking for something close to LA or like to Silver Lake, and the zoo's pretty close, so I could bike to that job. And then my grandpa worked for the city. He worked for Department of Water and Power. He was managed like a forklift, and, like work on the warehouse and stuff. So I knew the city jobs took care of people, and I don't know. Yeah, and I think I did get some good writing done while I was there, for other projects and for just like seeing the sunrise and like cleaning these enclosures and looking at animals like was kind of like oddly peaceful and inspiring. And I would listen to like audiobooks of like William Friedkin's autobiography, The Friedkin Connection. Like I associate like a time of my life is like I'm broke, but like Werner is made, and like I'm hearing also rumors that like Werner and Nick are back. Like at one point, like I thought they both were off the project, but then someone leaked and it wasn't me. I don't know who did it, but like someone leaked that Werner and Nick Cage were attached to this. So I'm getting all these texts from friends like, hey, congrats, hey, congrats, hey, congrats. And I'm like, guys, I don't know what's happening. I'm working at the zoo as a custodian right now. I don't know if this is even true.
Right.
Yeah, listening to Friedkin, oh man, his stories are great. You should. I mean, I like reading a book, but like if you're gonna do if you're gonna do an audio book, like do Friedkin's, because he reads it himself and he's such a smarmy, salty, funny guy. It's a great book on filmmaking.
So I'm gonna actually download that because we're I'm a big freaking fan. So okay, so you're there. So Werner leaves in March, right? You're still there for a year. You're hearing rumors back and forth. You're just praying at this point that the spec you wrote that people love, like
yeah. And keep in mind, I changed the script a lot. And to be candid, so I'd done all of Werner's changes, and like he had tried to get that final draft from me, and you know what it was, what like kind of flipped a switch is like I told him it's about my autonomy. Like I haven't been paid yet for this script. Like I haven't sold the script yet, and it's like the only thing I'm getting paid in is like a seat at the table. And the moment I give it away, I'm not going to have that seat at the table. I've been financially on my own since I was like 17. Like my autonomy is really important, and that's why I'm doing this. And it was the word autonomy. It was like it flipped a switch in him. He was like, "Oh yes, I understand completely." Like I think he respected it at that point. But we did change a lot. Like I basically did every note he wanted, even some of the ones that I didn't really fully see or love. You have like this Werner draft that was like his vision, but didn't work for some people. Some people didn't like it as much. And then I think they started going back to the first draft is what I heard. And then basically, yeah, it was more radio silence. I think there was maybe some ups and downs that I wasn't even privy to, that there was maybe some other directors they were starting to talk to, but I wasn't even in those rooms at that point in time. And then it was like basically in the fall, like August or September, I just hear from a friend who works as an assistant at a company at the time and took a screenshot of like a submission that said like, hey, for this actor's consideration, director Gus Van Sant, script Dead Man's Wire by Austin Kolodney. And then I was like, what? Wait, this is too good to be true. This is like what I dreamed of back in 2022, years ago. And then my manager and I call Tom, and he breaks the news that like, yes, it's it's looking like it's happening, but also as we've learned, stuff could go wrong. So I think they were not wanting to call and get my hopes up again. But then basically what I found that when they got Gus on board, a version of the script that I had seen them starting to use was like basically my first draft again. It went back to my first draft, though it was like they had like cut out maybe 10 pages of it, and then added like a little scene of like this the muffin shop sequence. That was like the only thing that was added, and the rest was just kind of like we lost some stuff with like Jimmy the brother and Fred the radio host and Linda the reporter. They like cut a few scenes from there.
So essentially, they just added the epilogue.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. I was going to ask you about that because I always kind of thought like structurally, you know, the film's essentially contained to what, like a 3-day period. And I was going to ask you about that specific scene. Like, was there anything?
Well, let's get him going to where we get going into a film. So Gus Van Sant, you're seeing submission letters to actors. Like when to keep us going.
Yeah. Then there, and you know, I'm still working at the zoo, and like hearing that maybe Gus is on board and he wants to talk some, and you know, I get my first phone call from him and we talk a little bit, and then you know, little things like, oh, we're going out to Al Pacino now for the ML character, which that also was like, whoa, I didn't even think that was possible. But it was also me wanting to protect myself of like, I'd still, you know, I'd like maxed out all my credit cards, I was working at the zoo, and like I'm willing to do more rewrites, especially if it's to help land Al Pacino. But like, is there some kind of assurance that I could, you know, live on? Say this movie doesn't go into production in January, like you're planning, like is there something I could do? So yeah, I was like trying to eke out like $5,000 from them to like do these rewrites. And I read Al's memoir that had just come out, Sonny Boy, and another interview series book, just because I wanted to infuse as much of his voice into this character if we're going to expand the role and have him and Tony talk with each other. And then also my friend Sydney Marquez, who's a set decorator, was hired in Louisville, where the tax credit was and where we're going to be shooting this. Like obviously it's set in Indianapolis, but with the tax credits, and honestly the architecture of Louisville has not been like super advanced. It's not like this big glossy high sky rises with like glass and titanium. Like it looks kind of concrete and 70s still.
It's a great place to shoot. It's a big hub right now. It's shooting in Louisville.
It is. Yeah, I love the Louisville crew. And my friend Sydney was a local hire there and had worked with our line producer before. So she started to interview for this job, and I knew what it was at that point in time that Gus was on board and stuff. And then she got the job independent of knowing me. And then now she's asking for I'm like back channeling with her and giving her like the research files that Alan Barry and Mark Enoch had shared with me. But things are still a little frosty with me and the producers, but I'm obviously like anytime Gus Van Sant is calling, I'm answering that, and that's exciting. And then it moved very quickly. Then all of a sudden this is 2024, it's been like 4 years at that point. All the glacial like start and stops, all of a sudden it's just like, oh my God, like the start date's coming up very soon, and we need to finish casting this. We need to start building the stages and locking the locations. And then, it was once I knew that my plane ticket and everything was booked for me because I was like, well, you guys haven't bought the script, so I know you're going to do production revisions, so I'll be there doing it. I'll do them for free, but you have to put me in a hotel at least so I could be there.
Yeah.
And once that was booked, I gave my 3-week notice to the zoo, and I told them, I was like, hey, so I think my movie is going in Louisville. I'm going to leave in January. And they're like, oh, no shit, congrats. Like they were happy for me. Then basically landed in Louisville. And the moment I landed, it was like, Tom was like, we have to cut the basketball sequence. We can't find a stadium. We can't afford to fill it up. Like immediately, the moment you land, it is a reminder. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to start killing some babies. Like
if
you're claiming you want to be the one, you want to be the one to. I mean, I guess that's why I wanted to be the one to do it, because it's like I know those darlings are gonna be killed. I want to have some agency and autonomy in like how they're shaped and adapted to the realities of production. The moment I landed, we were on scouts already, like cutting ending scenes and combining things and stuff.
So you get there, the movie's real now. You know this is
Yeah.
real, right? You know, there's sets.
But I
being
didn't
built.
even breathe easier until like Gus called action on day one, because we had like really bad weather too. Like the snow on the ground is real, which is good because that's what it looked
You're
like
getting
on the day.
flashbacks of your, you know, post college David O internship.
Well, honestly, no, that was good because that was baptism by fire, baptism by ice.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the weather in Louisville was not as bad as what Boston was, so I actually felt prepared this time around. And yeah, once Gus called action on day one, then I breathed easier because then I knew then it started. That's just like now you're up and running.
But before we get into the day shooting, I want to just backtrack slightly about what was it like working with developing the Gus Van Sant vision? Because I mean, we know the Werner vision, but like two different directors. Like, how was that experience like with Gus?
Gus went back to essentially, like I said, the first draft. He didn't. I think at one point he asked, like, can I read the Werner draft? But I don't know if he even had time to even get through it. Like, he basically had gone back to the first draft. They cut a couple things just for the logistics, like just they couldn't afford to shoot it, I guess. And he just went to the first draft, and he had very minimal notes for the ML Hall scene were as simple as like, oh, maybe they talk, I guess. Maybe we can have them talk. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, have you seen Network? And I was like, yes. And I was like, yeah, Patty Chayefsky and Lament. And he's like, yeah, you know that like Ned Beatty like boardroom scene? I was like, yeah, like the fire and brimstone, like the most famous monologue of all time. And he's like, yeah, just like maybe he could lay into him and make it like Network.
Oh, wow, okay.
That was like his only note, but it's a daunting tall order because you're hearing it from one of your directing heroes about one of collectively all of ours like favorite movie almost. And I think that's how he liked to direct. He wasn't super prescriptive. He it's like the same way he works with his department heads and actors. He asks his collaborators, like, what is your instinct? What do you want to try?
So what made you...
And then if he likes it, he says, yeah.
So sorry, I just was, because it made me think, like, initially, this was your top director initially. Why did you, in 2020, when you wrote this, you wanted Gus? Like, what was it about Gus specifically and all the directors in your head that you picked him?
Well, it was Tony, and there was two. To be candid, it was two. It was, in my mind, Tony Kuritzis was Jack Black or Adam Sandler. And with Jack Black, it was like, oh my God, I loved Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. I loved the turn that he gave in that. And I remember walking out of Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot and thinking, like, Jack Black could win an Oscar if he had like a leading role and Gus directed it. Like, they worked really well together. So that was part of it, was like, I just thought and you know, Gus's ability to tap into that dark sense of humor. If you look at like To Die For and Drugstore Cowboy, even Shades of Milk too, but then also, you know, the tension, like the elephant style Milk, you know, tension. And then ultimately, I mean, the movie has a lot of heart too, and I think a lot of Gus's movies have a lot of heart. So that was the pairing there. And then back in 2020, if it was Sandler, I wanted the Safdies. It was like before they split. I did have that in my mind as well. I just knew. But I knew. Cool, it could have been fun, but I knew I wanted it to go. But you know, the first draft, in my opinion, was like a $25 million studio movie. It was like, like a Focus Features would make this for 25 mil or something. But as the movie was getting closer to production and we're cutting scenes, it was clear that this is not. It was probably closer to 10 mil, is like what the budget was, and this was not gonna be this big. Shoot, like this was a very tight shoot. This was a 20 day shooting schedule, very, very tight, and I think only someone like Gus could have gotten through that shooting schedule.
How many days was it again? Sorry,
about 20 essentially.
Wow,
there's like 19 true principal and then like a 20th kind of pickup day.
Good. Okay.
Something on the note you just said that I thought, particularly after reading it, is that, you know, for a thriller that's essentially contained a handful of locations, it does feel really big. What did you kind of do, like, to, I guess, like, play with the, like, small amount of locations you had, and what specifically were, like, your biggest challenges, especially when you had to start killing your darlings budgetarily, to kind of try to fill as much space as you could with what you had? Yeah,
I think it was like finding a rhythm on the page of like when to pop out, when to give these little moments, like, peaks and valleys and crescendos, like just between Tony and Richard, and then having that feed into the rest of the world reacting to this situation, and trying to not miss out on certain storylines and perspectives for too long. Like, oh, we should know how the cops are talking about it at this point. Oh, let's go check back in with Linda. Let's see how the crowds are reacting. Because to me, that was like the interesting thing in the archival footage, was like some people kind of taking Tony's side and saying like, hey, like, I've heard some sketchy things about this company, the people calling into Fred's and being like, yeah, if this company did this, then there should be a grand jury investigation into them. But it was like a Rorschach test, because then some people would be like, hey, I go to church with Richard. He's a good man. This is horror. This guy Tony's crazy. He's out of his mind. So I wanted to always check in with Indianapolis to see how they felt about what was unfolding. And yeah, it makes it feel more big than just, a stage play of just the two guys in the room.
And interesting, because this was this was February of 2025?
When we shot it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, January 2025.
And then when did the dude who shot the health
so
CEO?
that happened, I think, in November, December.
Oh,
It happened
wow. So that was
basically-
really right in that same time frame.
Yeah, well, like, Gus was already attached. They had Bill attached, Dacre attached. Like, they were, building locations, and then the United Health assassination happened, and it's born from a similar seed of discontent in like an economy or system. I mean, ours is like real estate, and the Luigi case is healthcare. And now that you guys have seen the movie or you've read the script, like, and if you're listening this far into the podcast, sorry, I guess we'll get into slight spoilers for the film. Ours does not end the same way that the real Luigi case did. And I actually don't think, I've said this, like, if our movie, if Tony and Richard's story ended in true tragedy and bloodshed and everyone dies and it's a massacre, like, I don't know if I would have approached, I don't know if that's like a fun movie to watch. I don't know if the ending of that movie is that cinematic to me in a way. Like, the ending that we have is like the button of it all being the court case, that kind of epilogue of the verdict, and like Tony starting to run his mouth again is like, it's funny to me. It's a punchline. And that's why I think I approached it with the tone that I did, is because it had the ending that it did. And so I try to draw a distinction and clarify that I'm not I understand the parallels, like, because people do, I read all the letterbox reviews and stuff. So I see people say the Luigi parallels of it all. And then it is timely, right? Like, I think it's a reminder that this is relevant, and like, history doesn't necessarily, that's another review I read that I love. They said history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. And
I love that. I never heard that. That's excellent.
Yeah. I forget that I should give it was on Letterboxd. I literally do read every Letterboxd review, for better, for worse. But yeah, that's been cool to see, is just people's pros on the movie, just informing things for me and just impressing me. But yeah, I think the character of Tony raging against a system that wasn't working for the quote unquote common man struck a chord with people in 77, and then it struck a chord with me in 2020 when I was writing it. And now, in 2025, it's even more relevant in some ways.
And it's pretty clear. I mean, I think, Pacino's in it. I watched the movie, and the first film I thought of was Dog Day Afternoon. Are there any specific kind of North Star films you were thinking about tonally while you were writing this?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a big list I gave recently to the synagogue, but I think if I had to pick three, it would be Dog Day, it would be Fargo, it would be probably a little bit of Uncut Gems, with the way that Tony is kind of this charismatic, somewhat gambling, constantly upping the ante figure. And that just his vocal cadence and him cracking jokes and stuff. But yeah, Dog Day, in terms of structure, like, I didn't want to do the biopic version of this movie where you're seeing Tony, develop the land, and it's like, and you go through the whole courtroom procedural after and I wanted to see, to me, the meat and potatoes of it is when that device, the dead man's line or dead man's wire, is like strapped to Richard. Like, that's the heart of the movie. and opening with Tony just arriving and trusting that audiences are smart, and as if you give some context clues and allow people to play the archival footage of people explaining what seems to be going on, like people will fill in those blanks and understand he has a bone to pick with this mortgage company. He's accusing them of deterring renters. I just wanted him to arrive with the box that had the gun in it, similar to Dog Day Afternoon. Like the movie just starts and they're walking in the bank, and I think Pacino as Sonny is getting that gun out on like page 4, page 5.
So, just because we're getting short on time, and I want to make sure we cover this area. So, the movie's made, it's in the can, it's released. Like, how has your life changed now, right? I love that you shared all these stories of how you grew up and the janitor work at the zoo. Like, now you're a produced screenwriter on a big film. My earpiece went out, but I'm going to go anyway. And, Gus Van Sant, it's getting all, press and everything. How has your life changed now, since this has been released and shown to the world?
Yeah, I mean, I have to like express gratitude, right? Like this was the dream of like getting it in the hands of a big director like Gus, and then this cast was like a murderer's row. I mean, how great is Coleman Domingo in this?
Oh,
how
yeah.
great is Bill and Dacre, Mahala, Carrie Elways is unrecognizable in this, man. I grew up watching Saw and Princess Bride, and he threw himself into this role, and he's really put the movie on his back in many ways. He's really done as much as he could to promote it. And Al Pacino, yeah, I think I'm a kid in a candy store. I'm very grateful, but I also, something kind of fun happened at a Santa Barbara screening where we played the movie, and then afterwards, Josh Brolin and his wife Catherine were in the audience, and they came up and talked to Gus because obviously he worked with him on Milk, and Josh came up to me afterwards, and we had discussed some of these similar things of like where I grew up and working at the zoo and what have you. And Josh like came over to me and like shook my hand and was like, "I dig your story, man. I dig your story. It feels old school, feels old school." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you know what I mean?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, you work hard, you get your script made by the right guy, and you're off to the races, man. But hey, I think you get this probably, but like, promise me you won't drink the Hollywood Kool-Aid." He said that. Don't drink the Hollywood Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I've since, he very kindly did like a Q&A. He moderated a Q&A in Ojai with me, which was really cool because my cousins and aunt and uncle and stuff got to see me on stage with Josh Brolin.
That's crazy.
And he's got a great book you should read, From Under the Truck. He's got some good stories in there with the Coen brothers and stuff. But he asked me the same question, like, how has your life changed? And I was like, you told me not to drink the Kool-Aid, and it really has. Like, I really, I've gotten to be invited to some very fun, like Colleen Camp has invited me to a One Battle After Another party where I got to briefly meet PTA, but my other, cinematic god. And like, I'm getting in cool rooms and I'm meeting with very fun companies. But to be honest, to be very candid with you both, I haven't landed that next job. And I'm back to square one financially, to be completely honest. And I need to get another job. And I have no ego about like I'm gonna PA on a commercial later this week. I'm maybe gonna pick up some shifts at the zoo again if need be. I'm pitching. I'm trying to get the next thing. But I didn't think that it was going to be this one ticket that all of a sudden I'm off to the races. Like I think I knew that it's a nice victory, but then the path of a filmmaker is not linear. So I'm still hanging out, like my friend Larry, who I worked we started at the zoo together at the same time. Like we went and shot guns out in the desert with Carlos the reptile keeper. Like I'm not changing too much like my day to day, but I am very excited that the movie is out there and people are talking about it. It's going to come out internationally. It's in Italy this weekend, I think, and then in March it'll be in the UK and a few other territories, and then ideally it'll end up on some kind of streaming service down the road. I like that Roque gave it a theatrical window. I wish it was a little longer, to be honest, and we didn't get dealt any friendly hands with the snowstorms when we were rolling out, but I think it will continue to find an audience, and I think cinema like this, like, you know, it's a Gus Van Sant film and it has his stamp, it has his voice and fingerprints on it. It's now going to be part of like that catalog, you know, like when there are these retrospectives of his work and Pacino's work, and eventually down the road, Bill Skarsgård's work. I think people are going to look to this for Bill, especially. I think Bill's fantastic. And is he the Jack Black, Adam Sandler sized looking guy that I had in my head when I wrote it? No, but like he tapped into Tony in his eyes and the charisma and the sensitivity that he brought to it. And it's a great Bill performance. So I think the movie will continue to find its audience, and maybe when it's on streaming they could do another push. And I just want people to see it because I think it's a fun time at the movies.
Go see Dead Man's Wire, support this film. It's an amazing film, and like we got a cool little gift here.
I can't believe we haven't even spoken about.
Let's put it up to the camera. Put it to your camera here. Your camera here. Well, show the cover. Show the cover. No. Hold on. Before we do this,
this is the most incredible screenplay book I've ever seen in my life.
There we go. Please return to Meridian Mortgage Company. Dead Man's Wire.
It's a very cool piece of merchandise that Roque, Ken Farmer. Yeah, Ken Farmer's the designer. Roque put it together. Mo at Roque really spearheaded it, and it's a collaboration. It's not just my screenwriting. It's our stills photographer Stefania. All of her photos are interspersed throughout of it. And she did such a great job. She was such a integral part of our crew. And Vin, one of our set dressers, took some 35 millimeter film in it. And it's a cool piece. Go check it out at roquepresents.com.
Yeah, and also
I want everyone, real quick, every one of our viewers, here we go. Go get it. Go buy it. Support it. It's amazing. Look at this. Look what you have. Stills.
I wrote a little intro
you wrote the
to
beginning,
it.
The intro.
The intro is amazing. It's a 2-page intro.
I got to quote Max Bemis of Say Anything. I'm a big Say Anything fan, so it was a fun moment in life that I got to.
The best thing, real quick, is your beginning, and this was Danny was saying it. How your letter to Gus. Hold on, it was from Austin to Gus. Hold on, it's right here. It's like, go to the character. What is going on in the scene? Where are you going? I just love how you're just talking so candidly to Gus Van Sant. Danny brought that to my attention. I thought that was so dope.
There's a whole, I have stacks and stacks of all my Warner notes. I was taking notes left and right at Warner. There's some good gems there. Maybe down the road, 50 years down the road, I'll release those. Going back to when I worked for David, he said, never trust a man who doesn't write everything down. So I'm a big advocate for handwritten notes and documenting everything.
And to give a shout out.
That's what it's a screenwriting podcast, right? It's writing.
It's writing.
It's always be writing.
And to give a shout out, I don't know if you had the chance to ever meet Sam's dad, Ed Pressman.
I haven't, but I use his quotes now. Sam gives me all these gems that he's doled out to him, so I feel like I've gone through osmosis.
So Ed would always walk around with a notebook, and that's something that I learned. I worked with Ed and Sam, and the one thing I found is always walk around with a notebook, and I always carry with me, but it's of course in my office, a little notebook, because it's you gotta have to take notes, and it's just a great piece of advice. But Austin, you are a true gem of a human being. We love your work. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. We would love to have you on again and talk more into the nitty gritty of writing and process. If you're ever open for it,
I'd love to. Hopefully I land one of these other feature gigs, and maybe within a year I'll be in New York and we can do it in person.
Come in person. We got the studio
I'll have a new movie to promote. Yeah,
we would love that, and we do love you, and thank you so much. I don't know, Danny, if you have any parting words.
Yeah, man. Incredible story on the page. Your actual story as a writer and filmmaker is awesome. I had a blast this week getting to read the screenplay again, watch the movie again, learn again. There's a lot more just context for your story writing this than you usually get, and it's just so beautiful to get to see. There's 200 pages of awesome stuff in here. I had an absolute blast.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Thank you. I'll let the Roque team know. Thank you guys for having me on.
No, thank you very much, man. We really appreciate it, and we'll speak soon. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.